And now we come to the last of the big four, articulation, a common term in vocal pedagogy, also known as diction, which encompasses the way in which our tone is transformed into words. After all, we possess the only instrument that can speak. Since Erato is the muse of love poetry, she is committed to helping us deliver an intelligible message. You will find that Thalia, with all of her instruction on shaping resonators to form acoustic vowels, has done a lot of Erato's work for her. By the way, this is not to be confused with the articulation of attacking certain notes with accents or staccatos. This is the first skill that I have placed in Aristotle's philosophy of logos, which, for our purposes, is concerned with the words that we sing and the message we are attempting to convey. Because articulation is so important, I've enlisted the help of an old friend of mine. Trust me, you need to know what he has to say, but it's going to cost you. He'll talk to you about consonants, and then I'll come back and share with you my custom-made vowels in hand method that I published in Voice and Speech Review. Hey, come here. Turn that light down. What are you trying to do? They say you want consonants and they say you want the works. I got consonants. It don't matter how I got 'em. I got 'em. But be careful what you ask for, kid. You just want to walk out of here with them, having no idea what they are or how they work. That don't fly with me. I need you to have a healthy respect for these guys. First, I need to tell you that all consonants are either voiceless or voiced, meaning T and D are the same consonant, but T is voiceless and D is voiced. I like the voiceless ones, if you know what I mean. Those voiced ones sing like a canary, you'll pardon the pun. Okay, first we got the stops, also called the plosives. Ever heard of that? I didn't think so. It's a small puff of air after the air has been stopped. The good news is they're short. The bad news is you gotta place them just so, see? Then we have the fricatives. Shh! Quiet. I'm trying to run an off-the-grid business here. So congratulations, you know that a fricative is a kind of hiss sound through a small opening. These are long sounds, so you need to shorten them and help them get out of the way of the vowel. Now get this. Affricates start as stops and end up as fricatives. It's ch. Do I look like I need your help? It's short like a plosive, so be sure to place it perfectly in the music. Next, we got the nasals. They really rattle my cage because the air comes straight out of the nose, but they ain't so bad. As you've already been told, nasal consonants can help bring the sound forward, so no harm done. Now listen, kid. You gotta be real careful about this next set. They're called the liquids, as in R and L. The air travels along the sides of the tongue, and kid, that sounds too much like talking out of both sides of your mouth for my taste. They're fine when they begin a syllable, but have you seen what they can do to vowels when they follow them around? This world would be a better place without them as far as I'm concerned. But what are you going to do? Finally, we got glides. What do you know about them? Beautiful. You don't know nothing. Anyway, they're often semi-vowels, which means they're basically vowel sounds like E and oo that act like consonants when they precede the main vowel nucleus in a word. To my thinking, they have a lot in common with the diphthong. Sure, they ain't part of the main vowel nucleus like diphthongs are, but you need to keep these guys short before the main vowel, just like you do diphthongs at the end of a vowel. So that's it. Now you know what your merchandise is capable of. So hand me the cash, turn around, and get out of here. And if you ever caught abusing these guys, you never saw me, you never heard of me. Do we understand each other? I thought so. Vowels are most important in classical singing. They carry our beautiful tone. They should be approached with a level of relaxation in the jaw, but controlled tension in the resonators. They should be kept pure while they are sounding, As such, diphthongs should be delayed until the very end of the note. In a choir, vowels must blend or unify among singers, and even the best choirs have problems in this regard. With this in mind, I would like to present my unique American English vowel unification method for choirs called vowels in hand. It's a play on words. Just like the old expression, taking children in hand, we must take vowels in hand too. In fact, vowels are like children. They must be the center of attention, meaning they should be. As you already know, vowels have pitch, so they are essential to tuning. Like children, vowels are off color and difficult to wrangle. If I pronounced a continuous stream of vowels from the most front to the most back like this, yow. How many vowels could you make if you sliced that up really finely? Hundreds of thousands? A million? It's similar to the rainbow, which represents an infinite array of colors. We use the mnemonic Roy G. Biv so that we can get our minds around it. That's the problem with vowels. There are too many of them. Like children, vowels shouldn't talk to strangers. The strangers I refer to are R and L. They are corruptors of vowels. In the case of the former, when an R ends a syllable, we want to fall short of pronouncing it. In the latter, we have to be careful of the tongue when an L ends a syllable. For example, I once had a student whose last name was Mills. When I asked the students how many syllables their last names contained, he said 2. Like children, vowels can be sneaky. When singers hail from different regions or have different levels of singing training, problems with vowel unification are unavoidable. Also, there are many words that have more than one acceptable pronunciation. I invented this method simply because I wanted to teach my singers the International Phonetic Alphabet, IPA, and develop hand gestures that clearly communicated the IPA characters that singers should notate in their scores. When I gave the singers a quiz asking them to write the IPA characters for the vowels in simple English words, I was amazed by the difference in opinion. Even though they were to make their choices as if they were classical choral conductors, there were major differences of opinion in the vowel shapes to use. I had assumed everyone was on the same page. That's when I realized that I needed to make my system much more comprehensive. Therefore, like children, the uniqueness of each vowel must be discovered and celebrated. What the system is, it's a unique way of developing a collective concept of vowel shapes. With the accompanying hand gestures, it is also a means of having a quick, two-way conversation about those exact vowel shapes. What the system is not, it is not a conventional diction exercise, but that's okay. In singing solfege, many choirs have adopted La-based minor, meaning that for minor keys, singers use the relative major as Do to make sight singing easier, especially for the less experienced readers. Likewise, this system is not textbook regarding diction, but I believe it helps get the job done. The system is technically not designed to teach acoustic vowels. Rather, it is a way for choirs to achieve a group concept of basic vowel shapes. However, when I imprint the vowels on singers, I incorporate acoustic vowels in my modeling. On this journey, I discovered that I was approaching vowels wrongly. I believe most conductors handle them more carelessly than they should. In the comparison to colors of the rainbow, we have already determined that vowels are elusive, so our treatment of them should not make them more elusive. Before developing this method, I used phonemic spellings. That is, I used to write AH or OH. But relative to what? Also, when we see OO in a score, I always get the question of whether that means O or OO. I also used to model. I can demonstrate all day long, but if it happens to be on the word top, believe me, if a student comes from a place where top is pronounced top, the student will hear the latter vowel shape. Finally, I used to employ ephemeral keywords, meaning I used to say as in get for one word, and then as in met for a similar word. That sounds reasonable. But please consider that in some American dialects, get is pronounced git, but never is met pronounced mit. Therefore, when you change the keywords, you move the target. First, let's create a scaffold that contains 6 parts. One for the 5 Latin pairs, and one for what I call a non-Latin pair. As you can see by the color transformation of the squiggly blue border, starting at the upper left, curving around, and ending toward the bottom left, we make a progression from the most front vowels to the most back, though the non-Latin pair prevents a perfect such sequence. While we know that there is a lot of activity happening in the articulators and resonators, let's designate the top of the scaffold to vowel shapes that require an adjustment of the jaw, and the bottom of the scaffold to vowel shapes that require an adjustment of the lips. Vowels in hand, step 1. Limit the number of vowels. Shown here are their international phonetic alphabet characters. Depending on whom you read, there are upwards of 20 American English vowels. We need a quantity that is large enough to accommodate every American English word and small enough to keep each radically individual and manageable. For example, was left out because I don't want my singers using that vowel usually anyway. I also eliminated the schwa and the schwa with the R tail since my singers were confused that some unstressed syllables had their own IPA characters while others don't. However, I didn't lose those sounds since the 2 shapes are absorbed by and respectively. As stated, the infinite amount of colors has been reduced to 7. Also in Western music, we divide the scale containing innumerable pitches to 12. Therefore, let there be a pantheon of 12 and only 12 English vowels. To help tether these immortals to something concrete, 12 and only 12 keywords will be used. These keywords are in pairs. As I will show you shortly, and much more briefly than a real situation would demand, these 12 keywords will help instill the shapes into your collective consciousness. Once the vowels have been imprinted and sculpted, a red velvet rope is placed around them so they can be cherished and meticulously maintained. Now, it doesn't matter how any of us say these keywords in our lives, but these 12 keywords are said the same in our rehearsal room and concert hall, forevermore. The 12 keywords are attached to 12 never-before-seen hand gestures, which are shown here from your point of view. Coming full circle, 12 hand gestures link back to the IPA symbols. This is how the system works. I want to communicate my desired shape for a particular syllable. I hold up that gesture, which brings that exact vowel shape to mind. You, in turn, note that with IPA in your score, taking much of the mystique out of vowel unification. If I start to hear any discrepancies, I can perform some much-needed maintenance on the vowel shapes by reviewing the keywords. The system also works in performance. I have landed on a long vowel in performance many times, hearing a lack of vowel unification. When I offer the gesture, the errant singers fall in line. Let's experience a short demo of the system. You will now see drawings that will help you internalize the exact formation of the hand. As you see, these umbrella shapes will be deconstructed for the individual 12 vowel shapes. Here is where a sweet kiss happens. Mimic my movements and repeat after me. Sweet kiss. As you can notice, sweet is more forward than kiss. Your brain cells are up here. Brain cell. Again, brain is more forward than cell. Here is my tan top. Tan top. Once again, Tan is more forward than top. Let's skip over the non-Latin pair. Here is a tall dome. Tall dome. For help in remembering, you can see how the hands mimic the IPA symbols. Here is where you put your good food. Good food. Notice how the hand becomes kind of a puppet, mimicking the mouth and lips on the words good food. Finally, imagine a rough surf. Rough surf. Notice that the latter sound approximates an R, but never fully commits to it. Again, this orientation takes considerably longer in practice, because the conductor has to listen intently and continue to shape until the singer's collective sound is identical as possible on each vowel. The system requires a great deal of commitment and consistency on the front end, but saves so much time in the long run. Thank you for allowing me to share this unique method with you.